as relief efforts continue. A number of lives have been lost, roads and a number of families have been cut off. Schools have also been impacted. The province has dispatched disaster management teams to assess the damage and assist those in need.
At this point, I need food, blankets, clothing, mattresses. That's what the family need here. Water, they can't do nothing now about the water, just to throw it out with buckets. But just to keep the children home. The children didn't go to school because they didn't have uniform to put on today. It is wet. They don't have tumble dryers. They don't have nothing. They might just, the resources is just keep on the weather to make the stuff dry. So I contacted Ali Gift of the Givers, and he said yes, he's going to come help us, and he's here today. And I just want to say thank you very much for that also. Our ward council also for helping us in everything.
My house has been affected by the water. It's come from the roof down in under the ground. That's why it's been affected. We can't live. I'm walking barefoot because all my shoes are wet and stuff. That's why.
I wish I can help everybody. I tried my best to help with as far as I can. I'm staying in this community. I grew up in this community, and it's really very hard so to see what happened here. And if people can just bring food and clothes for these people, because I don't even have any food. This morning I woke up 6 o'clock to make for them porridge, to see that the kids get some porridge. There's animals. It's the first time I saw. I grow up here, but it's the first time I saw the storm is really taking us so badly.
They speak to Kachiefa Achmat, Housing Assembly Chairperson. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time this afternoon. Perhaps you can help us understand, as the City of Cape Town gave an update a little bit earlier on, noting that a number of informal settlements have been impacted and they are needing some assessment. But according to your assessment, what is the situation on the ground where these spaces are concerned?
Good afternoon. You know, when these floodings is happening, it's a every year thing in our community, especially in the informal settlement. But I think with this heavy storm and weather this weekend, I think it was just over what communities are used to. What we've seen is the flooding has affected so many families. People are having shelter now in these halls. And you know, even being in a hall, there's nothing really there for them also. It's just that they are there for their clothing, nothing else, because things have been destroyed in this flooding. People are losing their livelihood in this flooding. And what we see with this flooding this time around, it's even worse. You know, we most of the time we have the flooding in the informal settlement where roads are not maintained. You can see the blockage of drains. But this time around, it's affected people who's living in RDP houses, people who's living in these rental stocks, houses that's not been maintained, especially the rental stock. The rain have get in there, they are damaged. You can also see the badly poor households that people that's living in the RDP houses. Flooding has entered there also. You can see the damage that has been done there. You can see the informal settlement people are so distressed, and the elderly is badly affected. Now, when the city is talking about people must go to a place where it's of safety, you know, when this flood is happening, you're on your own. You have to struggle and find means and ways to get to these things. There's no support that you can say that there's someone that's coming there that's taking people there. People is on their own. They need to move along on their own. Now also we got a number by the city that we must phone when people is in distress and things is happening. But people don't have airtime or data to phone these numbers because it's not toll-free numbers that makes it easy for people to get to these people. And we're also sitting with a situation where schools and clinics and food, people don't have those things. So all these things is really badly affected within our community. You can see when people are saying, hey, we need to evacuate the space because it's not safe here. People just pack up and move. There's nothing else to do. You know, we have in some of the areas, there's children that's been executed by the electricity. Now, you know, we've asked the city so many times also to make life easier for our communities. You know, when you have electricity in the house, because you need to look at safety also in community. Now, when they tell you also, no, you can't put electricity because it's private land. But when you look at it also, it's also about people's human right to be safe. So if those things had to be in place also, these things, people wouldn't have lost their lives in this situation. Now, when you look at it...
if you'd please allow me to join you, Ma. When you take a look at the situation of the housing crisis in the city of Cape Town, to your understanding, what seems to be the issue in terms of addressing that? Because this is nothing new. And like you noted, this is just, perhaps there was even a higher level alert that was issued on Friday, a level 9 alert, which city officials had even said is the Armageddon or doomsday scenario. And so for these people who have been faced with this situation for so long, they've been living in an Armageddon. But what is it that has been stopping the progress in terms of getting people decent housing?
Now that housing is a crisis. But in Cape Town, housing, not just in Cape Town, all over. But I think Cape Town is the most unequal society here. So housing is a crisis, and what we've seen with the city, they're not building houses. There's too much corruption in cities. And when you look at housing, also these informal settlements, what we are saying is the city must donate those lands, or national government must donate those lands so people can build their own houses. You know, every year it's the same thing. If it's not fire, then it's flood. So there's no alternative that they are coming up. You know, we had a summit this weekend, you know, where we had the sandbags, where the sandbags houses were displayed to us and showed to us also how it will also prevent some of the flooding and the fires. So the city needs to look at those alternative housing types that can accommodate and save people's lives. But they don't look at that. Because when you look at housing, people, it's really a mess when it comes to housing. Because the city, there's no political will when it comes to housing. Because people are on their own. You know, we're staying in overcrowded houses. People are staying in, it's 2 to 3 generations that stays in their houses. And what do people do? If the space is not big enough, people move into these spaces. So there needs to be more houses built for our community. Proper housing. Because even when you look at the houses that they are building, these RDP houses, these houses are falling. This flood that has happened just played out how these houses are looking currently now. So we need to city needs to look at how can they assist our communities in these informal settlements. Because it can't be every year the same thing and no plans is in place.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time this afternoon.